Hey, welcome into the Dolan Dash. My name's Brett Dolan. It's always a chance to interview coaches and athletes that are making impressions and having big-time moments over the last couple of weeks, if not months. And I would say Ben Wallis, the head coach of UTEP, his volleyball team, is doing just that. They're in the NIVC championship against Wichita State. First of all, Coach, before we even get into this last couple of weeks or the match coming up, can you give me an idea what big picture the last month, maybe the last 3 weeks have been like, whether it's on the court, whether it's program building, whether it's putting fans in your gymnasium, and just give me a flavor of what that's been like.
It's been a very fun last month or so. You know what I mean? It's been a really big valley towards the end of the conference championships, and then a really big peak here in the NIVC. I mean, we're a good volleyball team, and we've been good all year, but we've had to kind of suffer through some injuries and things that have really challenged us to reinvent our lineup and reinvent the way we were playing. And so going into the conference championships, we really felt like we had a chance to win the conference for the first time in a few years because of how good Rice and Western Kentucky have been. We finished third 3 years in a row and now 4. And all 4 years we finished to the eventual conference champion. We lost in the semifinals to them, and they went on to the NCAA tournament and won several matches. So it was really bittersweet in Virginia. I mean, we lost in 5 to Western Kentucky, who ended up sweeping New Mexico State in the finals. And we were we took that hard, Brett, like really hard. I've never seen a team take a loss so hard for as long as they did. And I was really worried that we weren't going to be able to play in the NIVC because of that mentally. But we got on a Zoom like this about 3 days after we got back from the championships. And I sat with my leadership team and my coaching staff. And I said, okay, guys, I know you're hurting. And I know this was hard, but let's talk through. Are we locked in for the NIVC, and how are we going to get the team through it? And to all of our leadership team, there are 6 of them. They all said, yeah, coach, we're in, we're ready to play. We're excited about that. We're just still hungover from Western Kentucky. It hurts. We're still having a hard time. Alianza Darley, our graduate seniors, she said, I couldn't get out of bed for 2 days, coach. She's like, I just took it so hard. So at that point, I knew we were ready to play, and they have shown that they're ready. They took that so hard. They really wanted to win a championship, and so they've taken this opportunity and turned it into something special. And it's really been fun to watch. It's been fun to coach them. I really feel like we're getting better right now. We're getting better every time we play. We're getting better, and we're doing some special things. So it's been a wild ride, but that's been the last month, man.
I appreciate the honesty, and I think this is really kind of a topic of conversation, the frustration and what that can lead to at an opportunity to win a championship for your seniors to finish strong, to build towards next year. And I put myself in your shoes, and I'm sure that was incredibly painful. Sometimes we think coaches earn their money on recruiting or game planning, but sometimes for me, it's the ability to take a tough moment and turn that. And that is where I don't know if we always understand what you guys are doing behind the scenes. We see it come to fruition here in the last couple of weeks, but I can't imagine the bandwidth it took just to kind of turn that battleship.
Well, and I think part of it too is just, I think, looking at your team individually each year and trying to address what they want and what they need. Sometimes what they need isn't what they want, and sometimes what they want, you got to give them, and it just depends on the season. Last year, we struck out a lot trying to figure out what that was. We were super young. We just found ways to lose. We lost 7 5-set matches last year by a combined loss total of 18 points. So that'll tell you how close we were to being a 20-win team again last year. And so I sat down with my staff, and we just looked at it, and we thought, the volleyball stuff isn't the reason why we're losing. It's a lot of this other stuff. And so we spent a lot of time in the spring, even into the fall. We spent a lot of time in the fall where we took volleyball hours off to sit down and get in the classroom and listen to podcasts. We put a series of podcasts together for our team to listen to. So that's paying off big for us right now, and I'm really proud of that. My assistant, Courtney Johnson, we sat down in the wintertime about this time last year, and we put together a curriculum that was 18 weeks long, and we stuck to it, and we grinded, and we read, and we dove into it, and it's really paying off big for this group. And I'm really proud of that. As a teacher, former educator, I felt like it was important that we did that, and we really dove in. She put a lot of time and work into it, and we did that together. with our team, and it was a lot of fun, and it was hard, and we spent some time on it, and now it's paying off. And you're right, man. Looking at that loss, we could have shut it down and said no to the NIVC because of how much that hurt. But I was so proud of my team for all of them saying, yeah, we're in it, coach. We're in this. Like, let's do this. We don't want to stop. We want to keep playing. Anytime your team tells you want to keep playing, that means more to you as a coach than anything else. Other than being invited to their wedding and to when you see their kids coming, those three things, man, it was so exciting for us. And really, we're just getting to watch them play right now at a really high level. And it's fun. It's fun to be around them.
I feel like you'll be a speaker at every coaches convention from here until the end of time, just kind of taking me through that curriculum, because it's fascinating, not just from a playing standpoint, Ben, but just from a personal standpoint. So you've intrigued me. Is there one podcast that I need to listen in on that might be worthwhile from what you've gathered?
There's a ton out there. I'll send you some stuff, Brett, when we're done, if you want. Like I've got a lot of them saved. We just looked at what we were crappy at when it came to our team and our culture and how we were doing things. I felt like we had a strong culture last year, but we didn't. I mean, we were fooling ourselves. And I was fooling myself as the leader of this program to think that, we lost volleyball games because of the serving and the digging and the passing and the hit. That wasn't why we lost. We lost because we were mentally and psychologically in those moments, we were faltering. We didn't spend enough time on it. And so I take that stuff personally. And I felt like as a leader, I needed to do a better job with our group. And so we sat down and we just thought about we word vomited on a board. And we just said, these are the things we're crappy at as a team, in our leadership. If our leadership isn't good, then we need to make it better. And we spent time. So we put down like 18 topics, and each week was a different topic. And so that entire week we would photocopy books. We would photocopy excerpts of things, and we would post it on our team thread. They had to read through it. They had to give us their thoughts. It was legit like another college class. Our players went through Team Culture 109 in the spring, and it really paid off big for us. And it paid off in terms of points and wins. I mean, it really did. And it wasn't anything to do with the volleyball. The volleyball was good last year. We just couldn't find a way to do the right things as a team, mentality-wise. We were so young. We had a lot of bad self-talk. So a lot of those podcasts were about positive self-talk. And there was a Netflix series by Thor that we focused on, and it was called Limitless. And I think it's 6 episodes, if I remember correctly. And we broke those 6 episodes up throughout the semester. And part of a lot of those episodes were very poignant and very connected to team and to personal growth, mentality, stress, how you deal with these things. And it was great. And we sat in there and we watched them, and we dove into that. Some of it was a little tear jerking because it was about family and about death. One of the episodes was about death, like your legacy. So it was great. I mean, we really spent a lot of time. It was exhausting though, Brett. Like I cannot tell you how many hours we worked at preparing that. As a former teacher, we had to put lesson plans together. And so it was a lot, but it really has paid off. And now we're just trying to think forward into this spring and figure out how we're going to recreate that for this next team and this next group.
It's the art of coaching, and it fascinates me. And sometimes I say the best thing I get to do is talk to coaches, because I feel like I learned something. And different sports, different coaches, different personalities, it all kind of builds towards just being, I think, a little more self-aware, better, whether that's as a person, as a player, on the court, off. I'm curious then the level of satisfaction, and I know there's another match coming up, but just gratification to see kind of your hard work pay off with this team to kind of overcome some obstacles that maybe had tripped you up before, and just kind of sit back maybe for a moment here or there and be appreciative of this journey.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it helps that you're winning games. I mean, that always helps. That always gives you some satisfaction as a coach and somebody that does that professionally for a living. Those are the things that keep your job for you. But at the end of the day, the first match of the year against Washington, we had a lot of payoff. We had a lot of feedback from our team, and we won that match in 5 in an opposing team's gym against a really good team, and we really put it on them in that 5th set, and that was a big part of the payoff. And to see the players look at you and go, all that work we put in just paid off, coach. They were speaking about it after the game. They were speaking about it throughout the semester. those things as a teacher meant so much to us and our staff to know that all that work was not for naught, because a lot of that can be lip service sometimes if you don't actually like really live it, if you don't really dive into it and believe it and put it in your whole soul and in your heart. And that paid off right away. And now we faltered throughout the semester in some of those 5-set matches too. And so we lost earlier in the year in the 5th set against Clemson. And we came back and got a second opportunity, which is so cool of a storybook, to be able to play them again at home and be able to beat them later in the year, because our team was really upset about that loss. And as a staff, we were really upset about that loss. And we faltered as a staff, we faltered as a team emotionally in that match. And to be able to get to play it again, it was another payoff moment where you just felt like you got to see the fruits of your labor. And there's nothing more fulfilling than seeing your team look at you and go, you said this to us and it's paying off, and we're glad that we put the work in, because it's really showing out here on the floor.
I'm glad you segued into that Clemson conversation, because I was going there with you too, because you have a disappointing loss, but then you get the opportunity to avenge it that year, and then you get to bring them to your home court. And I got to believe,
Absolutely,
from a motivation standpoint, that might have been your easiest week of the year, just knowing what was in front of you to play Clemson at home and have a chance to do it all over again.
well, and that was kind of a turning point in our season in a lot of ways too, because we were really good at that point. We had gone and faced some adversity there in New Orleans that week, and we didn't have our freshman setter, who probably should have been freshman of the year in our conference, and she got robbed, unfortunately. But she was out with a concussion, so we didn't have her there that week. Several of our players were sick, and so they were in and out of the lineup. But we beat Tulane, and we beat Houston Christian, and we matched up against another Power 5 opponent. And being from a mid-major world, anytime you play a Power 5 opponent when they've got all the bells and whistles and they've got all the ability to do the things they can do, you know, it means something to you. So we go up 2-0, and we just, like I said, as a staff and as a team, we fell apart emotionally. We were at each other's throat. That was the worst match of the year when it came to how we functioned as a program. And it cost us. We got the crud beat out of us in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th set. And when we got back home, we really sat down as a team and we looked at the way we were doing things and how we had each other's backs emotionally and mentally, and in the match, like how we are going to respond to each other. And that was a turning point in our season, in a positive one. And so to be able to play that again and to be functioning at a high level as a program, not only just from staff, but also to team, we were really excited to play that again. And we wanted to prove to ourselves that we were the better team. And Jackie was great after the match. She walked up to me and shook my hand. She was like, "Ben, you guys have done such a good job as a staff and as a team of overcoming things this year. And this environment, this home environment, was impressive." She said, "I really, really enjoyed playing that match." And so she's a class act, and her team is too. And they're very well coached. And to be able to get them at home after we lost to them earlier in the year, you never get that moment as a coach to go back and play something again. And we did, and that was great. I mean, it was some really cool silver lining from an early season loss for sure.
That's incredible. And I'm going to come back to your crowds in a moment, because I don't want to skip past that. It's been a big part of the storyline. But it strikes me, Ben, that whether it's the WNIT, and I see it with Triple Crown and basketball, Arizona a couple of years ago, they win it, and then the next chance they get, they're in the national championship game of the NCAA tournament, how it provides a second opportunity. It provides a springboard to the next year. And I think maybe sometimes for many teams, it's unfinished business, just the opportunity to get out there and have one more chance to put things together and see what we can do as a collective team.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was exactly the way our team felt. I mean, for sure, our old ladies, Alianza Darley and Sakira Lacour, I mean, they're our 2 graduate players on our team. And we have 5 seniors, and one of them is going to come back and play one more year, our libero, Alyssa Yanez. But the other 4 seniors on this team, I mean, they took it hard. That hurt. And there really was a big feeling of unfinished business. And this time of year in the postseason, unless you're really, highly ranked NCAA tournament team, practices are hard. Practices get stale. Their bodies are beat up. And so I was going into that last week's couple of weeks of practice, wondering what practices were going to be like. And they've been really good, and they've been really high level, and the energy's been high. And a lot of that has to do with our leadership on our team, and how much they felt like they had unfinished business, and they wanted to leave their legacy here at UTEP with a championship win, and how else to do it than being one of the 2 teams that can end the year without a loss. And not many people can say that, which is really cool.
There's no doubt. I just listening to you talk about keeping your team engaged. I did the NCAA tournaments in Fayetteville, Arkansas. SFA was one of the teams that came there. They don't win their conference tournament. Then they have to keep these teams engaged for a week because they're not convinced they're going to be in. You have Thanksgiving, you have classes. I don't know if people realize how much is going on around the end of the volleyball conference tournaments and then the beginning of the postseason, and how that requires a coach to really spend a lot of time kind of taking the temperature of his team.
Absolutely. And Debbie, she's been doing this for a long time, and I'm sure getting them to figure out how hard are we going to practice leading up to this. I mean, what's the key with this team? And so we looked at our team as well, Brett, and we gave them like 4 days off. And we just said, go away, get away from volleyball. And in this season and this year, we've done a lot right. And that giving them that time off was the right thing to do. In other seasons, you do something like that and they come back and you do it wrong. You know what I mean? It's like putting a serving sub in the game and having her serve it right into the net. In 2022, I'd put a serving sub in and she'd go buried in the net. And in 2023, we're putting a serving sub in and they're going and getting aces and they're bulleting serves in the corner. So some teams are different than others, and it's a tough time of year, but it's been really fun to be around these guys, and they really have taken it seriously. And the reason why we're having success is because of them. They've taken this really seriously, and then having our home environment be involved in that is just, it's the icing on the cake. I mean, we couldn't ask for three straight sellout crowds, and each time they happen, they sell out quicker and quicker. I mean, last night's championship match sold out in 45 minutes, and for a mid-major program, that's insanity. And it just makes me smile. I think all of us here in UTEP volleyball are more proud of that than anything else. The fact that there were people scalping tickets in front of our quarterfinal matchup. There was a dude out front scalping tickets at a college volleyball game, which only happens in Nebraska. You know what I mean? So all those things make us really happy, but we do have one more thing to do. And that's really the neatest thing that as a head coach I've ever been a part of, to be able to say, we have one more thing to do. And that is find a way to get by Wichita State ugly on Tuesday night.
All right, I'm going to come back to Wichita State and finish on that. But I'm a stadium guy, Ben, an arena guy, and I've called a couple of basketball games at the Haskins Center, and I appreciate the history. When I'm seeing the pictures of Memorial Gym on your website, I'm seeing people shoulder to shoulder. There's no empty seats. They're packed in there. I can almost sense what it's like. And you talk about people scalping tickets. When reality is better than your dreams, you know you're onto something special. You probably never dreamed about people scalping tickets outside of your venue.
I love that, Lily. Write that down for me so that I can say that on in some of these interviews in the next couple of days. Like, really, honestly, I feel that way, Brett. That's exactly the way to put it. I couldn't have said it better myself. Like, I have a piece of paper right here that one of my former players brought to me before the match yesterday. And her name is Macy Austin. She never got to play for me because she tore her ACL in the spring, and she ended her career medically before she got to play for me as a senior. And she's a professional now. She's got a job, and she came to our match yesterday, and she gave me this piece of paper, which was my interview paper. And it essentially said, she was on my interview process. She was one of the people that helped hire me. And she said, Coach, all these things you put in this interview are on that paper, and I want you to read through it she came to me before the match. I want you to read through it, and I want you to see all the things that you spoke about in that interview that you and your staff and your program and the team and the city have done. You've conquered all of them except winning a championship. And she's like, I am so proud of you guys. I'm so excited. She said, you put in that interview that we would sell out Memorial one day here, and all you got to do is win and people will come. And she put a star on it in the interview process. And she had that piece of paper, gave it to me before the match. I mean, I was really emotional about it. And I was just kind of choking back tears before the match started. I was like, keep your crap together. We got a match to coach here, you know? But holy smokes, you can't write it any better than that. Not in a city like El Paso, who is starved for a really cool team to support. And we've got really good stories here, and people just want to come out and support our team, and they've just fallen in love with them, which is really cool.
You've given me goosebumps on that. I can't imagine the emotions that you were feeling. And Ben, in the interest of time, I know you've got things to do to prepare, but as we wrap today, just give me an idea. Give me a preview of this matchup with Wichita State and what it's going to take for the Miners to come out victorious.
Well, Wichita State's really good, and so are we. I mean, I know Chris Lamb really well. He's a good friend, and one of his best buddies is Mike Jordan, which is my mentor. So Mike's going to drive down from Las Cruces to watch two of his best buddies play this, and he's going to get to sit there like a proud papa watching his kids play against each other. You know what I mean? He just gets to sit there and watch his buddies beat the crap out of each other. And so Chris Lamb's got a really good team. I felt from the beginning of the year that they had a chance to win the AAC, and they gave themselves a shot. They're really good. They're very complete. They don't do anything poorly. They're in a 5-1 system. We're in a 6-2 system. So if there's any kind of advantage, I feel like we have a few more weapons offensively when they get to the 2-hitter sets. But they've got a good setter, and they've got good ball handlers and really elite middles. And so we have this time of year, other than the NCAA tournament, Elite 8 and Final 4, you've got two teams with 2 star middles that are going to be matching up and butting heads with each other. And that's going to be fun to watch because Danica Washington touches 10-6 and Kaya Weaver touches 10-5. And they hit over 400. Now on the year, they're at 392 and 385. And for most of the year, both of them were hitting over 400. And they're going against Wichita State's middles that are both very good too, and all conference performers. So it's going to be a war in the middle of the floor. And so I'm excited to see how that goes. And really the team I think that defends better is going to win this because both teams have good serving, good passing, great blocking, good offense, and we're both good defensive teams. So it's going to really be a close game. I could see this going to 5 and it being ugly at the end.
And I appreciate the preview. I love the conversation. I think coaching so much and so often is more about wins. It's about people. It's about relationships. It's about building and teaching and educating. But it seems like when you can combine them all and chase a championship, it's those special moments. And to be able to carve out 30 minutes with us during this very busy stretch, I appreciate it. And again, thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't wait to see this match coming up.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me, and let us know what we need to continue to show how cool the city of El Paso and UTEP volleyball is here in our little neck of the woods here in West Texas.
Outstanding. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.